morning, and how are you doing today?
Good morning, Suzanne. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. And thank you for this interview. It's lovely to be given an opportunity to speak about my ideas.
Your book, Dream of the Cosmos, it starts with a beautiful, very powerful dream that had you contemplating about it for 2 decades. And it's a very, very powerful dream. And I believe that when you share a dream, you heal the people who listen. They make it their own dream, and they begin to think, and they begin to perceive. So would you please be so kind to share your dream with us?
Yes, well, this dream happened about 40 years ago when I was in my 40s, and it was totally unexpected. It was a visionary dream, and I dreamt that I was going over a beautiful field of corn with bare feet, just my feet just touching the top of the corn. I went round a huge dolmen, sort of huge Neolithic boulder, really. And then I came into a great valley, and across the valley there was a huge net stretched with a man on each side holding the net. And I was caught in the middle of this net, looking up at the cosmos. And as I looked up, I saw this great figure of a woman whose body stretched from the earth to the sky. It was immense. She was a cosmic woman. She wasn't like any of the goddesses I knew about. She was something totally different. And she had a great wheel in her abdomen. And she pointed to this wheel, and I looked down at my body, and I saw that I had a little baby wheel in my body, but it was too far to the left. And she indicated that I was to move that wheel in my body so it was central in my abdomen. And that was her message to me. And it took me many, many years to discover, I think, who she was and to understand things in a deeper way. But that dream led me into a totally new phase of my life and a new understanding of why we're here on this planet. So it was an amazing wake-up call to myself and really, I think, to the whole of humanity.
Hmm. Yes, and then you found out who that lady was, didn't you?
Well, I found out by doing research. I knew already about the Shekina because I'd written about the Shekina in The Myth of the Goddess with my friend Jules Cashford. But I went much deeper into it, and I really experienced what this being was. And what she is the underlying soul, if you like, of the whole of the manifest world. She is called the Shekinah in the Jewish tradition of Kabbalah, which is very little known about in the Orthodox Jewish tradition, strangely enough, because it could help the whole world to change its perspective if people knew about it. And she emanates from the divine ground, and she brings all the worlds into being, all the great galaxies, our world, everything that we see and experience as our world. She brings this into being, and she dwells within it as the divine presence within it. So she, if you like, is not a distant, remote God in another world in heaven. She is here as the underlying ground of the whole of what we call reality.
The
And that was
dwelling,
the revelation.
the dwelling part of the
The
feminine side of the God.
the feminine side of the divine ground, and we are part of her as and part of the divine ground. And this is something that has never been taught by the three patriarchal religions. This is what is missing in their particular traditions, and this is why they're all fighting with each other.
Hmm.
So there's no feminine element there in any of these three religions, which can bring us all together and help us to understand that we all belong to one life. So that was the dream, and that's what it led me to understand in the Shekinah.
Yeah, yeah, and in your book you have a very, very profound new definition of femininity.
Yes, because the feminine is not really specifically something that belongs to women only. It is present in men, and it is present in the whole of the created order. So I've defined it in my book, in chapter 10 of The Dream of the Cosmos. I've defined it as a totally new perspective on life, a totally new understanding. And that new understanding is the fact that we live within a sacred order. We don't live on this planet in order to exploit it for our own species. We live on it in order to become custodians on behalf of the cosmos, to look after the life of the planet. And that is what I call the feminine, or the feminine perspective. And this has not happened before, although we've been taught it in the great religions. This is what Jesus was teaching. This is what the Buddha was teaching, but it hasn't been articulated in this new way that this is something that we have to regain, because we once had this perspective long, long ago in the Neolithic, and then it was lost in the Bronze Age and after that as we moved into a patriarchal society. And gradually we got the idea that we could conquer nature and that nature was our servant. What a ridiculous idea. So now this has to be all got rid of, and we have to start again from a new perspective. And that's what I call the feminine.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Yeah. And how does that relate to the new website organization you are involved in right now with Rising Woman, Rising World?
Well, it relates. It is one of the statements on that website. It's given. That came from me. That statement. But this is an organization of about 20 women who met 18 months ago in England, whose leaders were women called Jean Houston, Rama Mani, who lives in Geneva, and Cilla Elworthy, who lives in England, not far from where I do. And these three women decided to start this new organization and call it Rising Women, Rising World. And they gathered 20 women from different continents all over the world to come together to ask how we could plan this. And the website is a result of that. And what we want to do is to raise the consciousness of women all over the world to come into their own true awareness of their important role, women's important role in this new understanding that we're trying to bring through, and also men's important role in supporting and protecting the women who are standing against the terrible oppression that has afflicted them, which has been particularly strong in the Muslim countries, as we know. And really, it's time for women to rise out of their long suffering and oppression and claim their role in looking after the planet and in looking after life, which they know about in the care of their children and everything. Anyway, for thousands and thousands of years, this is what they've done. They've cared for life, and now they have to take it to a new level and care for the life of the planet and all species on it. So this is what we're trying to put through, is a new vision on this website, Rising Women, Rising World. And it's also articulated on my own website, which is annebaring.com. So we hope to get this message out. Obviously, it happens as it spreads the word from woman to woman or from man to man. It takes time. Yeah. Everything takes time. But with the internet, it's going very quickly, in fact. Yeah. And more and more people are finding out about it and joining it. So that really, I think, covers what I wanted to say about this new consciousness which needs to awaken in women to reclaim their historic right to have a voice in this world, and a very powerful and strong voice. Doesn't mean to say they have to get into positions of power and rule the countries like Indira Gandhi did or like Hillary Clinton might do, but it does mean that their voice has to be heard in all the corridors of power. That means in all the institutions of government that have been established, women must be included as at least half of the proportion of people who are governing different countries.
Yes, that's one thing I really, really liked about Dream of the Cosmos, that you really stated the time is now. The time for the change is now. With the internet and everybody that's connecting online, and you speak about that connectiveness in such a beautiful way.